And unfortunately, this year, Black men have been a very targeted population for misinformation, not misinformation about what they want, but about why they want what they deserve. And my campaign has been the only one that has very intentionally, thoughtfully, and consistently reached out.
2 days ago, Stacey Abrams was on MSNBC to explain her plan to get out the black vote, specifically the black male vote, which has been an Achilles heel to her campaign. While she still has about 80+% of the black male vote, it's far from being enough for her to win the election. She needs about 95% of the black male support or better if she's going to be the next governor of Georgia. The problem is, black men have been trending red, depending on the data that you trust. Since 2016, anywhere from 15 to 20% of black men have been voting for the GOP, and Stacey Abrams herself has admitted black men will determine if she wins this election. So she's been courting our vote, or at least that's what she says. But I'm not convinced, because black men don't appear to be persuaded, which I believe is the motive behind her dropping this bombshell. She says that black men are a targeted demographic for misinformation, and we don't know why we want what we deserve. In other words, she knows she's not gaining traction, but according to her, it's not her fault. We've just been fed the wrong information because we don't know why we're asking what we're asking for. So in short, she's saying, she's awesome and we're stupid. Now, I talked about this a month ago when the now fired MSNBC anchor Tiffany Cross hosted a panel discussion on why black men are trending away from the Democratic Party. Everyone on the panel was trying to help, including Roland Martin, who's been nothing more than a rubber stamp for the DNC. But they all wanted to know why. They wanted to understand our motives. So everyone there offered up viable solutions to regain the black male vote. Now, I didn't agree with their solutions, but I admired the fact that they were earnest in their efforts. Except Tiffany Cross. She didn't care to know why black men were voting for the Republicans. She just took it upon herself to lecture us. Now, I'm going to play a clip from what she said in my response of what she said from my previous video.
Roland made a really legitimate point here. I will say, a lot of black men sometimes feel like they're ignored or they're put down, particularly sometimes even by black women in the media. So this is not that. But I do hear Roland's point that felt ignored. But you feel ignored and then you go over to the other side. The oppressed feel oppressed. So then you go and try to align with the oppressor. So I'm not putting black men down, but sometimes it's like, well, some of you Kevin Samuels following Tariq Nasheed quoting people, please look at the truth and see what's happening and get in line with some of the black women. Is majority, like he said, vote Democrat. But that margin of people who can be plucked away from your people and go advance policies that harm your people, I just don't understand that.
She straight up has contempt for black men, and so she's resorted to using sign language.
Shame, insult, guilt, and the need to be right.
And condescending shaming tactics. She doesn't want to understand why black men are voting Republican. She just wants them to, quote, get in line. Be good boys and do as she says. And I've got a problem with that. First of all, that's not true. The idea that black men are voting Republican because of Kevin Samuels and Tariq Nasheed is an absolute lie. Black men have been trending in that direction since 2016, 4 years prior to Kevin Samuels becoming a household name. But back then they were blaming Trump and toxic masculinity. So why are they doing it? Why are they blaming Kevin Samuels for black men voting Republican? Because they want Stacey Abrams to be the next governor of Georgia. And she has said, Stacey Abrams that is, that she can't do it without the support of black men. That if black men vote for her, she'll be the next governor. But that's not happening. So instead of taking an examination as to what they've done to push black men away, they need to create a boogeyman. They need another Trump-like target, thus Kevin Samuels. Because Kevin Samuels, in their mind, is that Trump-like boogeyman. He's just another thing for them to blame. Because the left doesn't like accountability. They're allergic to it. And when things go wrong, they deflect and pathologize the people that don't like their ideas. For example, if you're a straight man that doesn't like trans women, you're transphobic. If you don't like watching women play basketball, then you're sexist. If you don't like shows that show women fighting against the patriarchy, then you're misogynistic. And if you're a black man that doesn't vote for the Democrats, you're suffering from toxic masculinity. But this time it's coming from Kevin Samuels instead of Donald Trump. Their ideas aren't bad, you're just evil. And when it comes to Kevin Samuels, this isn't the first time I've seen this. Feminists have always blamed him for their problems. Ever since he's gotten into the mainstream, I've seen multiple videos of feminists blaming him for their relationship failures. Never mind the fact that many of them have been single since the Bush administration, long before Kevin Samuels was around. It's still his fault. He's the reason why everything goes wrong in their life. My point is, just as he has nothing to do with feminists being single, he has nothing to do with black men voting Republican. They're just using him as an excuse to label black men as the problem. Now on to the comments from that condescending witch, Tiffany Cross. What we're going through, Tiffany, is not a feeling. That's a feminine expression, and she knows that. She meant that as a jab, as a challenge to our masculinity. Men don't feel. We come to conclusions based on logic and reason. Then she accuses us of siding with the oppressors. Basically, she's calling us a bunch of Uncle Toms. Then she says, we're not looking at the truth, so we're stupid. We don't see what's going on in her mind. But the thing that baffles me the most is that she keeps saying people, 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 your people. What people?
So I gotta ask this question. Because you're on this show with the cocktails with the queens. And there's a reason for that. It wasn't to have you defend or not defend Donald Trump. It was about, I care about what's in this contract with Black America for women. And it's not, we're not mentioned at all in the contract with Black America. And
you are mentioned. I mean, when you mention black people, you mentioning black women. So don't count yourself out.
No, that's not true. That's like administration say that when they
black people is not black women.
Black
women are not included in black people.
No.
Black feminists have made it clear we're not included in their political agenda. They've set themselves apart from us. But in spite of that, she says we should fall in line and vote the way she says we should, like she has some type of authority over us. That's mad disrespectful. You don't talk to a man, especially if you're a woman, as if he's a child. We're not your sons, Tiffany. And lastly, why should we? Why should black men continue to sacrifice their interests for women who say they aren't with us, who say they're set apart from us? And that's another thing. We're tired of being tools of the black feminist agenda. Black men have been voting for Democrats faithfully for 50 consecutive years to their benefit, and we've got nothing but contempt in return from them. As a matter of fact, we're not even included in the discussion. When you talk about the black church, you're talking about black women. When you're talking about the black family, you're talking about black women and children. When you're talking about the black vote, you're talking about black women. We're just there in the background to support whatever policies they set. The only time we're mentioned is in reference to being the problem.
They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel.
We're the troublesome jiggers that terrorize the community, or the willful idiots who refuse to go along with the agenda. All we get is policies on how to control us. Now, I'm not saying that black men don't commit crimes. Lord knows some of us do. But to only speak of us in reference to crime is insulting. And for the first time in 50 years, we want more. We want more than just policies on how to lock us up. So if Democrats want to regain the black vote that they've lost, they're going to have to study black men. Find out what it is we want and cater to those needs, just like they do with black women, or black feminists, rather. And understand something, we're not stupid. So don't come to us with shaming tactics. Don't talk to us about programs for people of color. We're talking about black men. And don't attempt to lecture or talk down to us. Try a different approach. And take ownership. Stop blaming other people like Trump or Kevin Samuels or Tariq Nasheed for your failure. So as you can see, they don't have a plan for black men. And because they don't, it's someone else's fault. In this case, it was Kevin Samuels and Tariq Nasheed. And we as black men should be worried about this because we've seen this movie before. Back in 2016, the media and the DNC was caught flat-footed when Trump defeated Hillary in the presidential election, because Hillary was the well-established political legacy. She had a $2 billion war chest. She had the support of her husband, a former president, and the support of the Obama family. Plus, she served as Secretary of State and a U.S. Senator. And Trump was just a reality star, a celebrity billionaire. He had no political experience, and he was weak on foreign policy. On top of all of that, his party was split. There was a very strong Never Trump movement. He didn't have strong support from evangelicals, and he had a problem with women. And to make matters even worse, he only had about $200 million. No one took him seriously. All the prognosticators were predicting a blowout. He was a joke candidate.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump. That's not going to happen.
But he won. He won with tweets. He won using social media. He won because Hillary took the voters for granted. She felt entitled, or just assumed, because of all she had going on for her, she'd cruise to victory. But most importantly, the media was wrong too. Their data was wrong. They didn't see it coming. They were embarrassed by it. But the left never takes accountability. When things go wrong, it's never their fault when a plan doesn't work or when they're not liked. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with what you like, what you listen to, or what you believe, or who you are.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Or who you aren't. So if Stacey Abrams doesn't win this election, they're going to find a place to point the finger. Someone has to be blamed for her failure. Now in 2016, it was the Russians. Progressives said Hillary lost because the Russians used social media to interfere with the election. They brainwashed, tricked the American people into believing she was a bad candidate. They said we were the victims of misinformation. Sound familiar? You see, they talk to us and about us as if we're children, as if we're stupid, and they're our parents. Like it's their job to tell us what to do. Like they did with Hillary in 2016, just as they are now with Stacey Abrams in 2022. So what happens if Abrams doesn't get elected? If we, the misinformed black men, don't do as she says? Well, what does any parent do when a child doesn't listen? They don't blame themselves, they take our toys away. 2016 marked the beginning of the social media crackdown on speech. Posts were labeled with disclaimers and links to fact checkers, and ones that were exceptionally egregious were just taken down. And repeat offenders had their accounts suspended or they were banned entirely from the platform. The same, I believe, could possibly happen if Abrams doesn't get elected, because they've already set the table for black men to be the reason why she loses. And when or if she does, they're going to come after the content that we listen to. Remember what she said. Black men are a target for misinformation. We don't understand why we want the things we want. It's been put in our heads. So she's going to come after the misinformation that she feels has influenced us. They're going to try to make us understand that they are what we want.
I'm not putting black men down, but sometimes it's like, well, some of you Kevin Samuels following Tariq Nasheed quoting people, please look at the truth and see what's happening and get in line with some of the black women. Is majority.
And there it is. Tiffany Cross gave up the playbook right there. She blamed Kevin Samuels. She blamed Tariq Nasheed. That's who they'll blame. But it won't just be them. It'll be anyone similar to them that will receive the brunt of the blame if she doesn't win this election. Just like they did with the Russians, they're going to accuse them of brainwashing black men. That's why we should be concerned, because at the end of the day, they think we belong to them. And when we act up or show streaks of independence, they'll come after our toys. They'll correct our behavior. And as a side note, watch out for the box office of Black Panther as well. There are reports that black men are not completely on board with the project. If it doesn't have the same level of success as its predecessor, they're going to blame men, specifically black men, for not supporting it. Because progressives don't play around. They expect obedience at all costs. So if you like this video, please give it a like and leave a comment in the comments section and share the link on your social media platforms. And if you are new to my channel, please subscribe and turn on that notification bell. That way you'll get alerts every time I upload new content. This is the Layman's Journal. Thanks for stopping by. I'm out. Congratulations on making it to the end of my video. Please feel free to check out my channel. I may have some other content there you may enjoy. Here's one of my favorites. This report from Bounding Into Comics that says, Marvel scaling back Black Panther Wakanda Forever merch plans out of concern that the sequel's lack of T'Challa may alienate black male audiences. And when you add all of that up, with the context that Killmonger and Zuri were wiped out in the first movie, that Daniel Kaluuya's character W'Kabi won't be returning, that M'Baku has little screen time, and T'Challa has not been recast, it's obvious. This is a chick flick. Wakanda Forever is a movie about women's empowerment. This movie was not made for black men. So why should anyone be surprised that black men may not be on board? Again, I haven't seen the movie, but Grace Randolph is a reliable source. Bounding Into Comics is a reliable source. And Target didn't create that ad for nothing. I'm sure they have some inside information on what the film is about. And this has been the history of Marvel for the past 3 years. Just look at their previous projects.